Hi guys, so here I'm just gonna show you how to quickly enhance your moonshots using Darktable. I'm actually using Mac, but it should be very similar if you're using Windows or Linux. I'm not sure if there is a version in Linux, but anyway, so if you have Darktable and you don't want to use Photoshop, it's easy to use, and then it gives you great results. So for example, this is the moonshot that I took with my EF 75 to 300 millimeter. It's really not the greatest lens. This is even the, oh, actually, this is the 55 to 250 millimeters. Okay. So this is f9 exposure, ISO 100 basically, and this is the raw file. The raw file came in as CR3 because I'm using Canon, so I had to use Adobe to convert it to DNG file. Once I got the DNG file, I imported it to Darktable. Now I can edit it and make a few adjustments here to make the moonshot looks better. So this is basically the starting point. All these are applied by default for my lens. And then basically this is the final result. And I think it looks quite impressive. And the steps are really easy to follow. Right, so basically we start with this shot. The next step to do is lens correction. So lens correction should be under the correct module, correct here, and then basically you should find it somewhere in here, lens correction. So this guy here, you just pick your lens, you pick this and apply it. Once you apply that, what happens, it's gonna take care of chromatic aberration, maybe the lens perspective, get rid of some noise, some vignetting, etc., etc. It's always good to start with this module anyway for any image processing you want to do with Darktable. The next one is chromatic aberration, which is also an enhancement to remove all that purple fringing colors, etc. So basically, if I zoom in here, you can see it white, like before this and this. There isn't a huge difference, but specifically this lens seems to give no chromatic aberration. The EF 75 to 300, you can clearly see the purple on the side. So basically you go here, it's really a model, just click here and you just enable it, and that's it. Next one, so basically next one, I like to give the image some coloring. So you can see between this and this, there is a little bit of improvement. You can see it kind of yellowish, oranges type of imaging. So the Velvia model is under colors, and here, I mean, usually I don't like to push things all the way to the max, but specifically for this one, because it was bright, I kind of pushed it all the way to 90%. Also, the next module, also you can check the vibrance as well. You can push that. I'm not gonna make that. I can probably do that later, test it, because I want to keep the history for you guys so you can follow. Also, the vibrance will give much better effects when it comes to coloring. Okay, so now we're here. One very important module is the local contrast, so you can see the difference between moving from this step to this step. It clearly highlights these dark areas and also give a nice contrast in the image. The other module I really like is Filmic RGB. It also gives some sort of a contrast to the image. I chose not to use it this time, and I can go back to it later. Then the next module you want to use the denoise, because what we did when we added these colors, we kind of introduced some noise. Let me zoom in and you will see what I'm talking about. No, that's too much. So here you can see a little bit of zoom, and that the reason for it is because we saturated the image so much. So using the denoise, and usually I opt for the profiled option. So I click here, you can see a little bit of improvement in that initial denoising, but then I have to adjust it a little bit to push it back, so that I gain back a little bit of the details, you know. So basically when I do denoise, I'm just gonna get rid of all the noise, but at the same time it's gonna smooth out the image. Now you can see here it's smoothed out, which is not what I want for a moonshot. So I had to adjust a little bit denoise. So let me open this module here. So basically here, I think that's the default setting. It just goes to all of these settings, but then I have to adjust a little bit, so that, let me go back again. So now you can see the strength is less than it was before, and that's what's basically make you lose the noise, get rid of it, but at the same time you're not going to lose too much details. So the next step is surface blur, just a little bit, because when the image is too sharp, you kind of don't want that to be visible, so that it gives the idea that the image is super processed, like you want it to look natural. And at the end of the day, the purpose of this is really to represent what you see in your eyes, and not do any type of type of processing or super effect or special effect. Like the idea is, okay, we have an image, we have some limitation with our lens, something like this, it doesn't look as nice or as natural as what you see with your naked eye. So the goal for this is really to give the image a little bit of enhancement, but still keep it within reality, basically. So you don't want to have something that looks like, oh, this is so much processing, and it's very obvious that it's not natural. You want something that is looking natural, but at the same time looking beautiful. Next one, so once we did the surface blur, it's just gonna give us a little bit of blurring here in this edges, which would make it look very natural. Next one, the white balance. So here I didn't do much, but basically you can control a little bit. Let me open this module first. White. I like to do searches like this. It's easier for me because I know the name, so I'll just jump straight to it. So here you can see I adjusted the temperature a little bit, and it looks really nice this way. Next, the haze removal. So let's see the difference between this step and this step. You can see we gained quite a bit of white, which is really good, which is what we want from the moon. And now we just go and fix that with exposure. Now you can see the difference here, the details, the color look really nice, but the jump between the darker area to the white area, we lost that. So we kind of want to fix that with exposure. Now if we go to exposure, you can see it's just a little bit better. Maybe you can't see it in the YouTube video, but so haze removed here at this step, exposure, and then we can do another sharpen to basically see these areas. They look much better. And then haze removal one more time. So basically what I was doing, I was just playing around with exposure and haze removal, until I figured, okay, between this step and this step, you can see there is quite an improvement in terms of what the image looked like. And this, so far, this is perfect. Like, this can be exactly what we want, you know, because basically I'm very positive that this is the color we were seeing, that I was seeing when I shot the moon. And in terms comparing this to this, the original, that is basically a huge improvement. Next, basically what I like to do is go and adjust the levels a little bit. Like here, you're still playing with exposure. We're still playing with exposure in this module. I think I brought it up a little bit here, but that was it. I just, you know, moved in this a little bit, and just so I can make this contrasted much better. Then I thought maybe I can do denoise one more time. There was a huge improvement at this point, and you can see the contrast is really giving the moon this beautiful look. And then exposure. So basically at this point I'm just playing with exposure, denoise, experimenting and trying to decide which one looks better. So reality is you might get it in the first step, or you might get it in 2, 3, 4 tracks. Local contrast is a must-have, because you can see how beautiful all these contrast edges and these changing color between these areas, the dark and lighter areas. Color balance, I don't think I did much there. Contrast, brightness, saturation. And now if I want to give it more colors, you can see here how I'm getting some colors. I come to the contrast and brightness. Contrast and brightness and saturation, and I push the saturation all the way to 1. And then you can see here what effect that has. You know, this is very white, and this has a little bit of color. So if you prefer having colors in your moon shots, definitely go with contrast. And at the end, all I basically was time for me to do some cropping. So I cropped the image to I think like maybe 25% on each side, something like that, and then centered it like here. So these are the values I used just so I can get it centered. And like a nice box here, I didn't want to put too much black because there wasn't any trees or anything. Like the moon was just a moon shot without any background or foreground. So now one thing, if you want to have these guides, they're really helpful. So you can do that guides here at this section. So you can select metering or select rules of thirds or grid. I like the metering one because for the moon it gives me exactly how much I can push to the left and to the right. So then I can use that, what is it, metering, and then you can see I'm just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then here and here. So then I cropped my image, and one thing that was, once I finished cropping, let me go back. Once I finished cropping, I don't know if you can see this, there is a little bit of noise here in the black. The way to get rid of that is to basically make use of vignetting. And what that does, let me open this module. So the vignetting module, you can see there is this circle here. The moment you select vignetting, you're gonna have this circle, and basically you're gonna define the area that you want to focus at, which is, you know, you want to have it centered and covering the moon. You will see 2 of these. This area is where you have the gradient, and this is the area where it's black, and this is the area when it's not touched. So what I do, I get these 2 to stick together, and then try to adjust them to cover the exact surface I want of the moon. And once I'm there, basically all this noise here is hidden with the black vignetting. And also there is another advantage to doing this, and let me go back here, exposure, what is it? Oh, I think because I edited it, cropping and rotating. Okay, because I edited it, so you can see here what you see here in purple and this section is also reduced because you're using this this vignetting module. So it serves two purposes: removing the noise from the blacks, and also make this a little bit better. Now, in the end, I think I lost one or two changes, and which shouldn't be too important, because the next step are probably more adjusting of this vignetting and not vignetting, the cropping. But this is the final result basically, and you can see here there is a huge difference between the original image. Let me get that here centered. So this is the original image, and this is the image, that the final image. So you can also do snapshot, something like this. So you can go here and then take a snapshot, and then come back here, try to do a comparison. I mean, if I put them exactly at the right position, you can see how much detail we get. And yeah, so I think these are some of the steps I use. Hopefully they're helpful. Hopefully you can use them and apply them to your image shots. By no means an expert in using this. I'm just experimenting and trying, and I think this looks way better with this editing. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and hopefully you can subscribe and watch more videos. Thank you. Bye bye.